We are so honored to have you here with us today. We will be talking about all things employee experience technology, and how focusing on key moments in each employee's life cycle and fortifying those key moments using a Journeys tool can really help to optimize each employee's experience at your company and can really put the employee at the heart of the employee experience. So we're going to give it just a few minutes to get people logged in. Throughout the webinar, we really want to hear from you. So there'll be multiple chances to answer our polls that we'll be posting, but then you can also interact with Q&A throughout the presentation, and at the very end, we'll have ample time for Q&A. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started and kick us off. So through the agenda today, we are going to dive into employee experience and kind of the state of employee experience and assess where we are. We'll talk about some of the challenges that employees face and HR teams face, general challenges to employee experience, and how the right technology in a tool like Journeys can help. I want to introduce myself. I'm Mary Kaplan. I'm a product marketing manager at Lumaps, and Lumaps is an employee experience platform. It's a relatively new term on the market and a new segment on the market, this employee experience platform. But of course, it's been born from this real need that's been put under a microscope lately to optimize employee experience at our different companies. So Lumaps was born in the social intranet market a little less than a decade ago. And as the technology has changed and evolved, as the markets changed and evolved, employees' needs have changed and evolved as well. So calling a tool like Lumaps with high investment in HR and integrations and intranet has just become a misnomer, which is why so many different vendors across the landscape have adopted the new term employee experience platform. So think about all of those intranet and corporate portal functions, top-down communication, but with bottom-up feedback, with cross-departmental and global collaboration opportunities. But then you add that to a real focus on employee experience. And as we dive into the definition of employee experience, it's that wonderful, I would say, merge and overlap between multiple different departments at your company: communications, HR, information technology, operations. That's what makes employee experience and employee experience technology, I think, so exciting, because to really have improved employee experience, you have to have this cross-departmental collaboration through your company. It has to be viewed very holistically. So that was a little bit about myself and a little bit about the company that the three of us work for. And Sarah, could you tell us a little bit about your background and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah O'Mara, lead implementation consultant, customer strategist here at Lumaps. I've been here for about 3 years, and I've been working in the employee experience space for about 6 years. I've definitely worked at similar companies helping to guide customers on building an employee experience. I've also worked as a customer, working to build that employee experience for an organization with over 300,000 employees. I've also worked in a variety of industries, and so now I get to help customers build this for their own organization, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what size, because we're all, employees, every single one of us. So it's a very similar experience that we want to have a good experience with. I'm very passionate about helping people, specifically helping people enjoy their work, because we spend so much time at work, we want to enjoy it. So breaking down those barriers to communication, collaboration, connecting with their peers, and Journeys is just one more way we can really elevate that experience so that we love what we do and we love showing up to work every day. So I'm very excited to talk to you today about employee journeys, and I'll go ahead and pass it off to Arnaud.
Hey everyone, delighted to be here today. My name is Arnaud Weiss. I'm a former entrepreneur and still university lecturer. I created a company around Journeys, a startup that got acquired by Lumaps, and I'm now within Lumaps in charge of the product line Journeys. and I am French, as you can hear. And yeah, so very happy to share these insights with you today.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay, so employee experience today. I kind of wanted to make a joke, right? In the past year, how many definitions have you heard of employee experience or seen of employee experience? And has your company really set on one definition that you think it'll stick to moving forward? I like to go back always to the definition that does come from Gartner because I think it gives a very good overview of employee experience, but then also quite practical. So employee experience is the net result of cumulative interactions that can be both positive and negative between an employee and their place of employment. It's comprehensive. It's a process that includes daily interaction with technology, tools, resources, and information, but also those interpersonal relationships with leadership, management, your colleagues, your team members. It includes milestones that an employee reaches or is working towards throughout their career, and really everything in between. What I think makes employee experience very unique is that it is distinct from what's often thought of as traditional HR practices, IT practices, and it's very distinct from customer experience as well. So we wanted to take the opportunity to ask you all, right, if this definition was relatively similar to ones you're using today at your company to define employee experience and move forward. So we wanted to send a quick poll about that. We'll give it a minute, get your answers before we move on. Okay. All right. You can keep answering as we move forward. So why invest in employee experience and why now? Again, HR teams, companies, and leadership have always been investing in employee experience. That's why so many of us on this webinar today, I think, show up to our jobs every day. Employee experiences drive so much of what we do. But as we know, it's an extremely hot topic right now, and probably on the minds of every single one of the leaders at your company because of recent global events, right? The pandemic shifted the way that many of us work. It shifted hiring practices, retention, of course, and maybe it translated into what was called the Great Resignation, Great Reflection, and now I've often heard it called quiet quitting. I don't have a poll about what we all think about that term because it would get probably pretty heated. But as we were doing some research for this presentation today, I saw these 3 different statistics that really stuck out to me. So 44% of U.S. employees reported that they have been actively seeking a new job in 2022, almost half of the workforce. Maybe quite related, right, or at least correlated, 36% of U.S. employees are reporting that they're engaged in their work in their workplace. So low levels of engagement being reported, high levels of seeking a new opportunity being reported. And then this last statistic really almost shocked me. 63% of companies say that retaining an employee is harder than hiring a new employee. So it's much easier to hire a new employee than to retain a current employee. That sounds like quite the challenge. It also sounds very expensive to me. Okay, so I work in marketing, and you would be, I think, hard-pressed to find any marketing team at any company that doesn't have what we call a customer data platform. Because customer experience technology has been, for the last multiple decades, I would say one of the highly or most high invested tools that all companies want to buy and continue their investment because customer experience so clearly leads to an improved bottom line, right? We want our customers to buy from us multiple times, not stop, and even promote us to their friends. And because of that, we really want to know our customers. I want to know how they buy, when they buy, why they buy, right? And so I have these, as a marketing team, I've invested in these really, really robust customer profiles and personas. Again, I want to know who my customers and my prospective customers are so that I can send them the right email at the right time, so I can ping them on their phone, so I can send them a pop-up in their browser, and I can send them a survey. How did we do? Would you buy this again? Would you recommend this? These, targeted digital experiences, because again, my goal is to know my customers, get insights on my customers, keep my customers happy. So I fully mapped out the customer journey. Employee experience technology has tended to significantly lag behind, right? Where we have really specific customer profiles and personas, we may not be able to have the same kind of personas for our employees, or if we do have a handful of personas, they're often tied to where they work, right? Are they in the office? Are they hybrid? Are they on the front line? The way we get in touch with our employees, ask them to do things and make them aware, might be limited to mass mailings, static portals, those surveys that we send, whether it's once a year or whether it's once a quarter, they might get lost. And so not that, again, employee experience in terms of the program, the strategy, the passion has not lagged behind, but unfortunately often the technology has just lagged behind customer experience. And that is a shame because as we know and as the data shows, the care, the time, and the attention that a company and a manager puts into their employee directly correlates to the care, the time, and the attention that the employee will then put into their customer. And I think Richard Branson really said it best when he said, clients do not come first. Employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they take care of the clients. So all that to say, employee experience is a hot topic. Employee experience is on everyone's mind. We all want to optimize it. But as we know, there are some challenges to employee experience, and we could probably spend this whole presentation talking about challenges, but we won't. Arnaud will take us through some very specific challenges that employees and HR teams face when it comes to employee experience.
Thanks, Mary. I believe that the largest misconception regarding employee experience when I talk to companies is that they see it as linear. You join the company highly engaged and your engagement is slowly dropping throughout the years until you quit a few years later. Couldn't be further from the truth. If we move to the next slide.
Do you see the next slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. You realize that actually the employee life in a company, it's a true roller coaster with ups and downs that we call key moments. Key moments, it's, for example, you're being onboarded, you're changing, you're moving to a new position, you're being promoted manager, you come back from a maternity leave, and the employee experience obeys a Pareto rule. Maybe you've heard about Pareto. The idea behind it is that 80% of something is caused by 20% of something. So for employee experience, it's the same. 80% of the employee experience is defined by 20% of the time in the company. And these moments are the key moments. These 20% are the key moments. So if we move to the next slide, you will, so the concept of key moments or moments that matter, it was created by Gartner. And they define it as moments that are both personal and work related. Personal because it can be, as I said, you come back from a maternity leave. It's very important time for you in the company. They have significant potential to impact employee experience positively or negatively. if it's a struggle when I come back from paternity leave or maternity leave, I'm likely to lose a lot of engagement and attachment to the company. And therefore, companies that focus on key moments make smarter investment with greater impact. The recommendation of Gartner on this topic is simple. If, as a company, you want to improve employee experience, you should focus on these key moments, onboarding, promotions, etc., because you will yield higher results from lower investments. So you have now a new poll on the right, and we can move to next slide. So basically, it's the whole idea behind Lumap's journeys. We want to help companies guide employees through their key moments in their life cycle with automated, personalized touches to really focus on these key moments and improve employee experience. And Sarah, I will let you continue.
Perfect. Thank you. So just a little bit on a personal note, as I had mentioned, I've had the opportunity to work in a lot of different industries, international, government, private, big companies, small companies, remote, in the office. So all these employee moments that I've experienced include onboarding, offboarding, parental leave, changing my name, other big life changes. And it's really shocking how similar and sometimes disappointing that experience is, regardless of what industry, regardless of what company size. So that's why we really appreciate the need and focus on improving these interactions. So how do we do that? Personalizing for each employee's needs. My needs are different from Arnaud's needs, which are different from Mary's. And my needs vary from point in time. So it depends on my role, depends on where I am in my career, depends on geography and personally. And so this is really critical for organizations to understand me as a complex human being, but it's hard for them to discern sometimes or have the tool that they need. So I think everybody has had an experience where they scrolled through and there's just a big list and it says it's divided by sections that says, if you are a fill in the blank, click here. And you're scrolling through going, is that me? Is that me? And you end up having an existential crisis because you're like, my company doesn't know me. Do I know me? And where am I clicking? So personalization will help with that. Rather than seeing something that's for everybody, you're going to see something that's for you and your journey where you're at. And so personalization will help with that noise, reduce that frustration, and everybody will know, okay, I know who I am and my organization understands who I am. Save time thanks to automation. Personalization is really easy to talk about. We hear it all the time, but personalization means that you now have to personalize instead of an office worker, which is one persona, you now might have to personalize thousands of different communications or journeys depending on that person and who gets that fun job. Who's the person who has to remember when to send that information, where, who it should be going to, did they get it? So personalization creates complexity, which may be why a lot of organizations are afraid to even get to that point where they are with their customer or with their employees. So automation is going to make personalization scalable. Deliver in the flow of work. Personalization and automation are rendered useless if they're hitting channels where the employee is not at. So you can be wonderful at personalization, but if your employees are working somewhere else, that's not helpful. They don't even get to see it. So part of the employee experience is delivering in the flow of work, meeting your employees where they are rather than having them come to meet you where you're at. So let's talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. I've talked a lot about theory and anecdotal. Personalized for each employee's needs. So I want to talk about the power of segments. So how do we know who these people are? Through a feature called segments, you are able to build your audience based off of who they are and where they're at, based off of attributes. So to give you a very concrete example, onboarding, I'm sure everybody has been through onboarding, and generally you have one onboarding that's for everybody. However, realistically, onboarding is different for IT versus onboarding for a new marketing employee. And promotions will depend on what level you're at, what level are you advancing to. The journey of that is going to be different. So segments allow you to define who these people are, And an example of segments is if you're building a journey for a new IT employee, you can build a segment so that anybody in the IT department is new will start on that journey. Anybody who is in the marketing will start on maybe similar steps of the journey, but there's going to be some personalized because they're marketing. They need to know different information. They need to access different tools. Using an example of region, perhaps you want to build a journey for anyone in North America, but your data, it only includes countries. So with segments, you can start organizing and compiling data. So you can say, well, for this journey, it's for everybody in North America. I don't have a way of targeting that. I can grab people who are from Canada and who are from the US, put that into a segment, and you can reuse that now for personalization for North America. Same thing for leadership. You can create a segment where it targets anyone who has a title of VP and above so that you can now have that as a group that you can reuse. So those are just some examples of how you can actually personalize based off of different attributes. The next one for save time, thanks to automation, we're going to be talking about how can you view this as a whole journey. So a lot of struggles that we go through in journeys is being able to see it at a high level. What is the entire journey end to end? And it's really hard to plan for that, especially if you're trying to personalize it for lots of different employees. So automation is going to let you see bird's eye view, but also where they are at in the journey, what's been sent, what hasn't been sent. And it also gives you peace of mind. So usually you have to rely on many different people. Did Bob send the email he was posted to the new hire? Who sent Sally the paperwork? Usually we send it through this channel. I'm not sure who did that. Did we drop it through the cracks? Because that happens a lot where, personally, I expect to get something, nobody gave it to me, and I have to hunt somebody down. So automation, you create these steps, and you can see those steps happening to make sure that they are occurring. So automation is really going to give you scale, peace of mind, and see things end to end. So delivering in the flow of work, as I had mentioned, it's meeting where employees are working versus having them come to you to whatever tool you're trying to use in order to help them through the steps of their journey. So delivering the flow of work is where are they working? Let's get those communications to them where they're at, depending on who they are. So IT might be working in Teams, for example. Marketing might be working somewhere else, unfortunately. We all like to say we are going to use the same tools, but that is not always realistic or possible, and we want to let employees work how they want to work. So Journeys, again, creates a centralized location to see this journey happening, set it up, and push it to the different channels that are important to employees. And so there is a poll for you in the chat just to learn more about what channels that you use in your company. So if you could take a couple of moments to let us know what channels, where are you using what are you using to communicate at your company? And while you're doing that, I will slowly kick it over to Arnaud, who I know has a real life example of the onboarding experience.
Yes, sure. So first of all, I just want to share a personal story. So when I graduated from university, I wanted to join a company in consulting. I went through 9 interviews. It was very competitive to get in. I got accepted, so I was super excited to go. I had very high expectations. And when I arrived on day one, actually my manager forgot about me. He was at a customer's office and I had no computer. And so basically it couldn't work for the first couple of weeks and no one was really taking care of me until I was sent to a customer on a mission. So on a consulting mission. So for me, it felt extremely underwhelming. And I thought, okay, this company doesn't care about me. They do not really care about people. So I'm just going to stay 2 years to have a nice line on my resume and I'm going to quit. And actually what I did, but it's just a personal story to say that these key moments, you can really impact your experience as an employee in a tremendous manner. And if you look at, we'll focus on the example of the onboarding journey. If you look at it, the idea here is that with journeys, you can first improve the experience, make sure that the newcomers feel welcomed, feel expected, and they have a personalized care for them. So you've seen before, you arrive on the first day, you have meetings scheduled in your agenda, you received email before in your personal email address, so you can see basically that people care about you, started preparing your arrival. It also allows to limit what we call the no-show. It means people who basically decided not to come in the end and don't come on the first day. So it's the first great advantage in the context of an onboarding. You improve the experience, you improve retention, you improve the average time employees will spend in the company. Then you save time thanks to automation. So on average, in onboarding, it's 54 tasks. It's not very interesting, and you have people, highly qualified people in the HR department, and the managers, very busy managers doing that. You don't want that to happen. If you can use the software to just schedule all the meetings, send all the emails, distribute all the tasks, it's a lot of value for you. And last but not least, delivered in the flow of work. I think it's something extremely important. I think there are too many tools in the companies. If I am a manager, I have someone joining my team every other year. I don't want to go on the HRIS or another platform, create an account. Maybe I forgot my identifiers. I just want to have something easy and seamless. And this is why what we built is a tool, an engine with an experience delivered in my everyday tools. I don't have to go on any platform. I just have meetings popping in my agenda, tasks appearing on Slack or on Teams, etc. And this is extremely powerful. So basically the ROI is pretty straightforward. When you look at the onboarding use case, it's a good one. I think it's the most important, one of the most important key moments. If you invest in the onboarding experience, you can improve retention and engagement. You can limit the no-show on day one, and then you can have a higher average time in the company. And losing an employee costs 6 to 9 months of salary in trainings, in headhunting. Also, all the time your team members, your employees spend training the person. You save time, as I mentioned, and onboarding, it's on average 54 tasks. It can convert, as we've seen in several companies we're working with, into 1 to 2 man days saved for HRs and managers. And last but not least, you can accelerate the time to productivity. We are working with major retailers, and they want to accelerate basically reduce the time before everyone is able to be client facing, is able in the shop to talk to customers and start selling. So a great onboarding, a structured onboarding allows you to reduce the learning curve on average by 1/3. So onboarding is just one use case. You can create many journeys. I will give you another example. A customer of ours had a drop in retention after 2 years in the company. So they were hiring people, training them. They were reaching their peak productivity after 1.5 years, and they had many people quitting after 2 years. So they decided to create a journey after 1.5 years to talk about it's basically a series of contents, videos about the opportunities in the company. Also a meeting with the manager and the HRs to discuss more opportunities in the company, how things are going currently, etc. And it improved tremendously retention. So you can also create journeys for the return to work in the case of pandemics, performance management. Also, you can create campaigns for different learning opportunities. If you have a new tool, you want to train your workforce, new security measures, you can do all that with journeys.
Awesome. Thanks, Arnaud. We have ample time for questions, and there have been questions that have been posted in the Q&A. And Sarah, I just wanted to point the first question at you. So I see some examples listed here. Well, what are some of the examples that you would instruct customers that you work with to use a journey to guide their employees through whatever key moment?
Right. So I would suggest, especially as a starting point, start with the big ones that you think of. So onboarding, offboarding, promotions. Those are ones that you probably have a process. You have all the documents and tasks that you need. So using that as a starting point. But if you're thinking about how else can I use journeys, because journeys is not just for onboarding, is think about your own experience. What is a milestone or something that you encounter that may not be at the same time as everybody else? So obviously you have things that everybody encounters at the same time, and that can be used, the company can let everybody know at the same time. But journeys are really individual to the person. And so you'll start to discover this as you start building out different journeys. What are the smaller journeys that can really put the cherry on top on the employee experience? So they go, wow, you actually noticed and you set us up with a journey. You knew where I was and you started to give me the things that I needed, perhaps before I even needed to hunt somebody down to ask them when to start. So there's definitely a list, and you'll get this deck after, but things like lateral moves. So even moving to different offices or to a different country is a very daunting task. So those are journeys that have very set steps, and you will have employees who will go through that process. And so thinking about for different individuals, what are different things that they may be doing that require specific steps, and then use those. So start with the big ones: onboarding, promotions, lateral moves, parental leave, life changes, and that may depend on country. So you may have to do some surveys, finding out, for employees who are, I'm from North America, I kind of know how the system works for like benefits, for example, but it might be different for different people. And so in order to set journeys, you have to know what those journeys are, and you can start interviewing and then setting those up.
Awesome. Yeah, what I think is what we've been very intentional about when building out LoomApps journeys is we want multiple different team members to be able to use the tool, right? It cannot be this extremely complex, workflow tool. It has to be user-friendly. It has to be no code, so that if your communications team is planning something that a journey would benefit, right? The sort of one-to-one guided communication would benefit, then the communications team can utilize a tool like Journeys as well. So it doesn't have to be just the HR team. It often is, because those key moments tend to be, again, a mix of personal, professional, that the HR team is often highly involved with. Okay. So I just wanted to, again, real quick question for Arnaud. Would you ever say that there's one key moment that needs to be prioritized first with a tool like Journeys?
Yes, absolutely. And for me, it's definitely onboarding, because you have only one chance to make a first impression. So you don't want to miss it as a company. And a lot of things happen also during onboarding. For example, as a manager, you're building the relationship with your team member. So as a company, you really cannot miss that one for me.
Awesome. Great. And there was one question earlier on, and I wanted to make sure we didn't miss it and we hit it again. I'll start first, and then Sarah, I can let you finish. So what is static portals? That was back when we were kind of showing the, I would say, maybe juxtaposition between employee experience technology and customer experience technology. So static portal to me means a portal that's fully top down. Information's being pushed out so it can be consumed, but there's not a lot of interaction or feedback capabilities in a static portal. That's what I meant by static portal. Sarah, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, because I get this question a lot, and I see the terminology, it really depends on who you talk to, but static portal. So portal, if you think about that, it's to transport you somewhere else. It's what we like to call a link farm. So static means it doesn't change. It's really just for an employee to come and consume, and it's not interactive, it's not dynamic. So static portal we see as being older. It was like the first version where, all right, our employees need something, let's just stick up a page, put links on it, and that's our portal so that they can click and go to where they need to go. So we like to talk more about a dynamic experience where there's a push and pull of information. So new things are getting posted, perhaps some of it is top down, but some of it is peer-to-peer, and it is giving you things that you need. So it's kind of portal in a way that we like to call it a hub because there's a lot of activity happening where you can still click on what you need to get where you need to go, but that's not the only reason you go there. It's not just a hopping off point. So static portal is it's static, it's not moving. It's what we consider old. And a lot of customers still have that. They have homegrown solutions where it's easy enough for their dev team to just stick up a page, put links on it and say, ta-da, here's your intranet, when it was really just a static portal.
Got it. Yeah. We are going to share some of those poll results as well because I think they're really fascinating to know what key moments have been most impactful in your career throughout your life cycle. So you can see the poll results being shared, different results on, it looks like promotions are the biggest key moment throughout the life cycle, followed up by onboarding.
Wow, that's very interesting. Because indeed, when you are being promoted, it's a whole new world, new challenges, and it's interesting to see that matters a lot to people in this virtual room.
Yeah. And I think too, it's so powerful because again, we want to retain our employees. We want them to grow in our company, feel empowered. So being able to be promoted, I know myself, I completely changed roles within my company. And it was like being re-onboarded. So sometimes onboarding is wrapped into that as well.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting for promotions. I did a lot of work for the really big 300,000 org that they had this process for promotions, but they dumped a whole bunch of information on you and they assumed you're coming with a lot of information. So I can see promotions being a place where I need a little bit more support. Where do I start? What are some of the first steps I should take to get there? And we've had feedback from people saying they didn't feel supported. Like, you're promoted to a manager because of your skills, and then they go, great, you've been promoted because you know what you're doing. And then you get to a manager and your role's changed. You're no longer, in the weeds. You have to learn a different lifestyle. And a lot of people don't feel supported in that. So journeys absolutely can help with that. And thinking through that process, like organizations thinking through, what does it feel like to be a person who's getting promoted and may feel left out in the wind?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Absolutely. And indeed, it's being promoted managers. It's one of the main use cases we've seen at our customers. And something that can inspire you maybe is that one of the activities in the being promoted manager journey was that they were being attributed a mentor. So either a senior manager or director to have regular chats with and share their experiences. It's one of the things that is very important, I think.
We have two other questions that I think are really great. So in addition to employee journeys, the big buzz right now is about moving from maybe your job description to skills and experiences. How will LoomApps be useful in this transition to skills? I think that's really, really a great question. And Sarah and Arno, I definitely want to let you guys take a crack at this. If I could start, I would say, again, if we can really know who our employees are through a mix of maybe what's in Workday, what's in Active Directory, but then you combine it with preferences, you combine it with additional attributes, it does provide that well-rounded picture of the employee. And we are able then to jump into the world of recommendations, right? So maybe I am, as I was, a sales engineer. So I was deep in the sales cycle. I was technical doing demonstrations, but I really became intrigued by this notion of marketing, product marketing, taking what I was doing every day on like a one-to-one basis, but making it a one-to-many and jumping into that marketing world. So I became more and more connected with marketing team members. I became more involved in joining those events, kind of shadowing the marketing team, as well as reading a lot of marketing content. So for me, I was looking to increase my skills in a different area, and that's where the beauty of recommendations could really come in. Hey, you read this, you might want to also read this. to help kind of buff up your skills, to help buff up your experiences. And then eventually when you get that cross-boarding or that promotion, you have that journey built out for you. Sarah, Arno, what do you think about that kind of skills and experiences topic?
I mean, I
Uh,
think you said it. I don't want to
Oh,
belabor it anymore. There's some other questions that I also want to answer, but I think you
yeah.
said it well.
Yes, also you can create a journey to help at certain point in their career. Your employees think about this, meet maybe a mentor or a coach and ask themselves the right questions. You can say after maybe, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years as our customer before, you have this kind of moment where you need to reflect on your skills and meet with people in the company to help you figure out which skills that you are developing, which one you want to develop, etc.
Awesome. Sarah, this next question's for you. How are you pairing employee sentiment with the employee journeys?
This is such a great question because we really get a lot of questions about we want data, we want data, we want to see how things are going. And absolutely, when you build journeys, you'll be able to see who's opening it, who's clicking it, who's completed the journey. But that doesn't tell you what people are thinking. And so we always like to stress the importance of having quantitative data as well as qualitative data. So quantitative is the analytics I'm talking about, how many people opened it. But quantitative is that sentiment, so understanding your employees. And so part of my job as the customer strategist is as we understand that setting up a journey is more than like, here's the 10 steps you need to do, but it's also the strategy behind how are we going to gather feedback? How are we going to see, is this too much for people? And as I talked about earlier with that bird's eye view of being able to see end-to-end journeys, now that you have a central location, you'll be able to see, how many people are getting hit with messages a day because you're not reducing noise if you've built 50 journeys that are personalized to them and they're still getting 50 messages a day. So of course we want to be strategic about how many journeys. So employee sentiment, there's a lot of great tools on, getting feedback, and it's really going to depend on the journeys you've chosen and the steps that you've chosen. So you want to get feedback from employees on, are they enjoying it? Are they ignoring it? Because you'll get data points where, a lot of people didn't complete this. There's something wrong. You still need to talk to people to understand why it's wrong. So it's not it's a pairing of supplementing having quantitative and qualitative. So it is going to take a little bit of extra. You need to know your journey and asking people what their sentiments are, and then you can go back in and start tweaking and adjusting your journey. Because, some journeys will evolve over time, and they should evolve over time as processes change.
Awesome. This next question kind of builds a little bit off of that. So I'm going to go ahead and ask, when you say there will be multiple journeys, how will that look? Will it be one holistic journey that can be segmented, or will journeys be separated? Like, would you be on an HR journey and a communications journey?
So I don't know if Arno, you want to jump in with this, but
Yeah.
there's different, here, I'll let you take it. Arno, go ahead.
Basically, a journey, it's made of several activities. I have meetings popping in my agenda. I will receive a video. I will be registered to a training. So in the end, you have separate journeys as an administrator, but as a final user, it's just activities appearing in your daily tools, your calendar, your element, your learning platform, etc. So, and you can be indeed on an HR and communication journey, of course. But we are very careful. We make sure that we don't spam employees, and we have a lot of best practices regarding that. Uh, some we share some best practices for that.
And I think there's a difference between like the back end and the front end. So the people who are creating it, HR is going to be creating some journeys, communications might be creating a journey, and you'll on the back end want to be able to see and assess what that's looking like together. But on the front end for a user, they really don't care who it's coming from. They don't care if it's an HR journey or if it's a communications journey. All they know is that they're getting these communications. And so obviously we want to be strategic and plan them out at certain phases. So on the back end, yes, we do want to be able to see, okay, who's doing what. And that's the great thing about having it centralized, because right now, people are doing it in their own little space. Comms is still doing journeys. Journeys didn't just come into existence suddenly. They're doing it now, and they're doing it very siloed. By bringing it in, you'll be able to see, what teams are doing the different journeys, how much is this hitting people, how much. So it's by creating a centralized interface, it'll be helping the back end, and then also for the front end, not telling them too much detail that they don't need to know, but they'll be able to still do the task that they need to, and they'll know what it's for, like what is the end result they're going for.
Yeah. So that was the presentation that we have today. We did not have on deck to do like a live demo, just given time constraints, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn more, schedule a demo to see a journey in action. We'd love to talk to you more about whether it's journeys, whether it's employee experience. I would love to know, if you can see your team using a tool like Journeys, or if you've already made investments in a tool like Journeys and how that looks at your company, which key moments you've opted to prioritize. I really appreciate the interactive questions, the polling, and again, thankful to have had the last better part of an hour to speak to you about journeys and employee experience.